Heyo everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and I'm a stay-at-home mom of 2 young kids, and I am so happy you stopped by today. On my channel, I like to share 3 dinners that we had throughout the week. This week, I'm going to be sharing 3 tried and true recipes that I have previously made and have always loved. So if these meals are tried and true, you know that they are going to be absolutely delicious. If you like this sort of content, please be sure to give me a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more, definitely consider subscribing. I do try to upload around 2 to 3 videos per week. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started into this week's What's for Dinner. So up first this week, we had some steak hoagies and grilled vegetables, and I actually took the time to marinate the steak in one of my favorite beef marinades. It is a Dijon and balsamic vinegar marinade. If you're new to my channel, I do include any recipes that I use down below in the description box, even if I did change some things up. Or I will try to find some recipe that's really similar to what I'm making so that you can have something that will give you real teaspoon and tablespoon measurements. So up first, as you're seeing here, I'm just dicing and slicing some ribeye steak and also some bell peppers, zucchini, and a few mushrooms. So for this recipe, I actually would recommend something. I would recommend that you use a cut of steak that you personally really enjoy or that you're very familiar with, just because it is going to be the front and center of the meal, and I honestly think this is a really tasty way to enjoy good steak. I usually use top sirloin for this recipe, but I saw this thinly sliced ribeye at Aldi when I went grocery shopping, and I thought I would give it a try. So sorry about this next part, guys. My kids were walking in the door from coming home from the park, and I totally got distracted and forgot to hit record. So this is where we're going to start marinating our steak. So to this marinade, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, as much garlic as you want, some dry seasonings like garlic powder, onion powder, thyme, parsley, once again, as much as you really want with that. You can also add in some red pepper flakes if you would like it to be a little bit spicy. So this is a recipe that I actually have had for quite a while, and if you look in the background here, you'll see a little recipe book back there, and that's where I keep my absolute favorite recipes. I have searched the internet trying to find who to give this recipe credit to, and unfortunately I can't find it, so I will have this typed out down in the description box from my recipe book. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and season the vegetables. Once again, here you can really season them however you like. You really don't have to add anything more than olive oil if you don't want to, but I'm extra, so I'm going to go ahead and add a big scoop of garlic, salt, pepper, olive oil, Worcestershire sauce, and then at the very last minute, I also decided to try some of this Kinder's buttery steakhouse seasoning on them, and I'm really glad I did because it turned out to be super yummy. So once you go ahead and mix up all of the seasonings in your bags, just go ahead and put them in the refrigerator until about a half an hour before you're ready to cook them. So yeah, this is not my normal cooking station. I'm not inside at my stove, as I'm sure you can tell. This day was absolutely beautiful outside. It was like 75 degrees, a little bit breezy, you know, just one of those lovely, like, soon-to-be springtime days. Cooking these steak sandwiches on the blackstone griddle is my favorite way to cook them, so I had to do that. If you're not able to cook on a grill or a blackstone, definitely just go ahead and use a regular frying pan, cast iron, whatever you have. It doesn't need anything fancy. The only difference is instead of marinating the vegetables, I would just go ahead and season them right before roasting them in the oven. So whatever way you would decide to cook this meal, you're just going to go ahead and place your steak on a fairly hot surface, and you're not going to touch it for a good while. You really want to go ahead and let the bottom of your steak caramelize and crisp up a little bit before you turn it to the other side. So when your steak and veggies are all done, you're just going to go ahead and remove them from the heat. And then you really could stop here if you want to, just go ahead and assemble your sandwiches, take whatever type of bread you want, a nice hoagie roll, put them together, put your toppings on, you know the deal, make a delicious sandwich. Once again though, if you're a little bit like me and a little bit extra with your food, you can go ahead and put some cheese on top. And I like to always try to melt the cheese, so here I'm just trying to steam it down. Honestly, it didn't quite work, still had to come inside and broil them, but yeah, this meal was delicious. My only complaint this time around was just the cut of meat. It was slightly gristly for being ribeye, but hey, kind of hard to truly complain about steak. So this was a really dark, dreary day, and it rained from the moment we woke up until the moment we went to sleep. So whenever that happens, I don't know why, but I just really love using my slow cooker on days like that. It really gives that cozy vibe. So this was the night that I knew I had to make the green chicken enchiladas. So to start out with, you're gonna take as much chicken as you want to feed your family. For us, that looks like about 2 chicken breasts. And then you're going to season them with a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, chili powder, oregano, and cumin. I also added a little bit of garlic powder versus regular minced garlic just because I've always had bad luck with minced garlic burning in my slow cooker. So after you get your dry seasonings on, you're going to take a salsa of your choosing. If you want to make green enchiladas, I'm going to recommend you use some sort of green tomatillo based salsa as well. I got mine from Aldi and this one is super delicious, so I highly recommend it. Then you're going to go ahead and just cook this on low for about 5 to 6 hours. So I really just love my KitchenAid mixer, and I definitely just wanted to give her a little shout out here. But you will also need to shred up about 1.5 to 2 cups of cheese, just depending on how much you want to include in your enchiladas. Anytime I make any sort of like Mexican flavored meal, I always shred up 1 block of mozzarella and 1 block of sharp cheddar. So this next step is totally optional, and it really depends on how ambitious you're feeling that night, but I really enjoy this part of this specific enchilada recipe, and that is the caramelized onions inside of it. So yeah, just go ahead and caramelize down some onions and set them aside for assembly. So here is the chicken after about 5 hours of cooking on low in my slow cooker, and it's pretty fall apart. Takes very little effort to totally shred it up, so just go ahead and do that right in your slow cooker so you can absorb up all of those juices and delicious salsa flavors. Once your chicken's done, you're basically ready to go ahead and prepare your enchiladas themselves. So this is some fancy green enchilada sauce I decided to try this time. I usually get a much cheaper variety that I also love, but dang, this sauce was honestly really, really good, and I would probably buy it again. It was slightly spicy though, just a heads up if you would be making this meal for kids or have a low spice tolerance yourself. So yeah, here I just set up a little assembly tray for myself, and I went ahead and put down a flour tortilla. You could also use corn, just heat them up first, then some cheese, then some of the caramelized onions, and then a scoop of the chicken. Once you get that all inside, you're just going to roll them up and line them in your pan. Oh, I did forget to mention to go ahead and put a little bit of the enchilada sauce at the bottom of the pan so that it can absorb up into the tortilla while it bakes. Once you get the enchiladas filled, if you have any of the caramelized onions left over, you can go ahead and sprinkle those on top. And then you're also going to take a really as much as you want, but I would say a good bit of the enchilada sauce and also pour that over top. Now, right at the last minute here, I thought it would be really tasty to put some more of that hatch chili salsa on top as well, so I went ahead and did that. You totally do not have to do that part. It just sounded really yummy to me. Then you're going to go ahead and top it with as much cheese as your heart desires. And that's about as much as my heart desired. You're going to cover it with tin foil and bake it at 350 until everything is heated through, so probably for about 30 to 40 minutes. Here I am just making my friend Taylor Elmore's Instant Pot Mexican rice. Ever since I tried it a few months ago, I have basically made it with every Mexican-inspired meal. I'll have Taylor's linked down below in the description box, so definitely go check it out for specific measurements, but I will give a quick rundown. Basically, you're just going to start by sauteing some onions and garlic, then you're going to add equal parts water and rice. You're going to add chili powder, tomato bouillon, and chicken bouillon, and then you're going to cook it on high pressure for about 3 minutes. While the rice was cooking, I went ahead and just made a can of refried beans. I didn't show that because honestly it's boring. I literally just opened up a can. What I did do once the beans were done cooking is I put some in the leftover tortillas with a little bit of cheese and fried them up as quesadillas for the kids and leftovers for lunch. When everything was ready and out of the oven, I just put some cheese sauce on top of my rice and sour cream on the enchiladas. This was easily my favorite meal of the week. I don't know what it was about this meal. Usually I'm not the most like hoorah fan of Mexican food, but this was like a slam dunk. It was so good. It literally tasted like it came right out of a restaurant, and I pretty much ate this and only this until it was gone, like morning, noon, and night. So definitely give this one a try. The final meal that I'm going to share this week is some butter chicken. To start out with, you're going to see something on my channel that you will definitely not see very often unless I am baking, and that is a measuring spoon. I don't personally cook Indian cuisine very often, so I'm not intensely knowledgeable of what the flavor profiles are, and I think it's just a better idea if I follow the recipe on this one. So this spice bowl is going to be for a chicken marinade that we are going to use with Greek yogurt. So to this spice bowl, I added 1 teaspoon of dried ginger, 2 teaspoons of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, and 1 teaspoon of chili powder. Also 1 teaspoon of salt. Then you're going to take about 1.5 pounds of chicken breast or chicken thigh and cube them into 1-inch pieces. Go ahead and set your chicken aside in a bowl or Ziploc bag. We're going to go ahead and go back to the spice bowl, and we're going to add a scoop of garlic and also about 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. Go ahead and mix that up, and it's almost going to look like a paste whenever you're done with it. Then add all of it to your chicken and thoroughly mix it. Then I like to let my chicken marinate in this for at least 5 hours. But if you're in a pinch, I have read reviews where people have done as little as 30 minutes and it was still delicious. When it was getting closer to actually eating, I went ahead and started preparing some broccoli for the side, and I just like to sprinkle that with some salt and pepper and a healthy drizzle of olive oil. I also like to massage my broccoli like you can do with kale, and it's actually pretty cool. You can see it turn more vibrant green. Now it's getting closer to actually time to cook the chicken, so I am going to do the same thing that I did earlier and pre-measure out all of the spices for the butter chicken sauce. So to this bowl, I am adding 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, 1.5 teaspoons of garam masala, 1 teaspoon of ground coriander, 1 teaspoon of red chili powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. As you can see here, my head chef came over to check to make sure everything was going just fine. Okay, so it is finally time to actually cook the chicken. So to this big simmer pot, I went ahead and added about 2 to 3 tablespoons of good butter. And then I took the marinating chicken in the yogurt and just dumped the whole thing right into the pot. I'm gonna go ahead and spread it out to try to get as much contact with the bottom as possible for the chicken. And then I'm going to cover the top of the chicken with some of these frozen chopped onions. If you don't have frozen onions, you can do the same exact thing with regular onions. And I'm basically not going to touch this chicken for a really long time and let it get a nice sear on the bottom. I accidentally fast forwarded through the part where you will see me add a giant dollop of garlic into this pot, but you can definitely picture that. Then I went ahead and added all of the spices from my second spice bowl and mixed them in with the chicken and started to let them toast up a little bit. After a few moments of that, I just went ahead and added a whole can of crushed tomatoes. At this point, the chicken was not cooked all the way through yet, but that's okay because we're going to bring this up to a pretty low boil and we're going to let it cook for about 20-ish minutes until our chicken is cooked all the way through and very, very tender. After that 20-ish minutes has passed and you can tell that your chicken is cooked all the way through, you could even use a meat thermometer if you want to, then you're going to add 1 cup of heavy cream. Make sure you go ahead and mix that up real well, and then this is where I like to actually let this sit for at least 2 hours. You don't have to do this at all. I just think it really intensifies the flavor and really marries everything together. So this is definitely a recipe that's going to be seen over and over on my channel. It's just the perfect Instant Pot rice. I feel like this was really big when Instant Pots first came out, and that's when I first heard of it. So I can't say I'll show this every time I make rice, but it's really simple. It's just a 1-to-1 ratio of rice and water. Then you go ahead and add whatever seasonings you would like. Cook it on high pressure for 3 minutes and then a natural release for 10. And yeah, this meal is so good. Personally, where I live right now, I don't have access to a lot of easily accessible Indian restaurants, so this really hits the spot. This recipe is very flavorful and it's very warm and just very tasty. If you don't have the spices needed, I do think it's worth investing in them if you can. That is going to wrap up today's video though, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Remember, if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you would like to see more, and I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!